From This American Life and WBEZ in Chicago, it's Serial. I'm Krishna. I'm Elijah. And I'm Hunter. Alright, so what have we understood by now about Jay Wilde's connection to the crime following the death of Hae-Min Lee? I'm pretty sure Jay killed Hae because throughout the podcast he changed his story several amount of times, which makes it obvious that he does not know what he is talking about or that he is lying. That makes sense, Krishna. He was never really clear on his story and often changed important details. But how does this alone show that he could be the killer? Exactly, Elijah. That's where the question lies. Also, why would Jay want to murder Hae? And what did she even do to provoke him into murdering her? Yeah, good question, guys. I'll get into that soon. However, we first need to consider some of what he lied about, especially where Hae was killed and where he saw her body throughout episode 4 inconsistencies. He said that Adnan showed him Hae's body on Edmondson Avenue in one interview, while in another one, he said he saw her body in Best Buy. As for where she was killed, in one interview, Jay told the cops Hae was killed at Best Buy, but in another, he said she was strangled at Patapsco State Park. The idea here is that he's lying so much to the point that every time he tries to prove Adnan is the criminal, it kind of just backfired on him because the police are so confused about what's true and what's not. For this reason, he's having to be interviewed so many times in the first place, thus implying that they sort of got suspicious about him. Good point, but how does this contrast from what may have happened in the truth? So here's what probably occurred. Jay was the local pot dealer, and Adnan gave Hae his new cell number the 12th. Adnan saw Hae in school the next day, and she heard that Jay has Adnan's car or cell because he was going to buy Stephanie a present, right? Yeah, that's true, but where did they meet and how did the incident occur? Well, Jay contacted Hae and arranged to meet after school to buy pot, so they could have met anywhere. It didn't have to be Best Buy, but maybe it was. Then a conflict sparked up between Hae and Jay. She confronted him about Stephanie, and he came on to her, and in the struggle of fighting him off, it got violent and he strangled her. The Nisha call then happened and as a butt dial struggle. And Jay tried to call Jen and made a mistake. And how did Jay get away with this? Jay then went to pick up Adnan, got high with him, went to see Kathy, dropped off Adnan at the mosque, and stopped at Jen's. There, Jay told Jen what happened and asked for help. Finally, they moved Hae's body into the car and buried her later that night. Keep in mind that this entire scenario I pointed out is not contradicting the call logs. Some might ask why Jay would try to pin it on Adnan when he gets called in, since Adnan might have an alibi. My impression of Jay is that he was desperate and not too smart. Okay, so is anyone else responsible for the death of Hae? No. Although I do think Jen should also be arrested and sentenced to prison for defending the criminal, I strongly believe Jay is solely accountable for killing Lee. So it turns out that the real murderer behind this case could be none other than Mr. Wiles. Most certainly. We should inform this to the police as soon as possible.